That's really interesting.
Cold open, cold open. Just where video started, and some people get really thrown off when we're in the middle of a sentence when that happens. So, I'm throwing that out as a warning so that they understand.
So, I think we have
cold open.
Do, I think we have to do an episode like this where you use a translator fairly soon, because otherwise they're gonna get so good that it's just going to be like us talking, and it's not going to be interesting.
And people are going to go, well, yeah, of course, it works. It's like AI.
Yeah. And most of our audience will be AI agents by that point.
Yeah.
So
they probably are already.
They really won't be impressed.
There's something to be said about creating a responsible bubble to live in. And I say that because
bubble?
Veronica and Patrick yesterday on the show both reacted to the story about Huawei including machine learning with the skepticism of like, yeah, it's everybody's buzzword these days, just say you have AI. And I'm like, I actually, yes, I know that happens, but I don't pay attention to any of those claims. I only look at the ones like DeepMind and stuff that are legit and are actually doing things. So, and the Huawei one apparently is working.
So wait, are you saying they're in a bubble or you're in a bubble?
No, I'm in a bubble.
Oh, yeah.
I'm preventing myself from seeing the more spurious claims very often.
Spurious claims. Where have I heard that before?
That's my new band.
Spurious clams.
Spurious clams.
That is my cover band of Spurious Claims.
Yes.
Tom's band.
It's a shellfish
act. We're not clams, we're mussels. And they just do cover music from all the bands they recorded at Muscle Shoals.
You know, I think before I started listening to podcasts, I probably wouldn't have understood all of those jokes. Podcasts are really useful.
Yeah. Well, that's actually my main aim, is to understand more of Le Rendezvous Tech.
I fear, the day that happens and you're like, you know what? Actually, the show is not that good.
No. I mean, I understand a fair portion of it now because I know a little bit of French and I know all of the topics.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're talking about the Facebook, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. All right, you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, Sarah, you do not... I put in a location introduction. I don't know if you want to put in a location introduction, Patrick.
As you know, I like them, so I will add mine. Audibly. I won't bother writing it in, but...
I will give you that, Patrick, so you know. Oh, you're actually...
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Good. No. I was just giving you a from quote colon, so... All right. As soon as
the DTNS, how can I call it?
DTN Scandinavia.
No, I mean from the DTNS. What in Finland? The DTNS
Longhouse.
Longhouse? What's a longhouse?
That's like a traditional Viking structure.
Oh, right. Sure, that works.
Yeah. Explain where I am? I don't know.
All right, here we go. Daily Tech News Show is powered by you. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, October 17th, 2017 from DTNS headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline at Venice Beach, I'm Sarah Lane.
And from the DTNS Longhouse in the beautiful but rainy Finnish countryside, I'm Patrick Beja.
Joining us, of course, is our producer, Roger Chang, who is in a secret location.
I'm in a secret location that looks like the location I record from every week or every day.
He's our designated survivor. We can't, let you know.
Right.
Whoa. You're putting way too much on my shoulders right now.
We are going to talk about not only Facebook's acquisition of a teen-oriented app, but sort of this struggle to find a nicer internet and what this might mean for it. Let's start, however, with a few tech things you should know. The Windows 10 Fall Creators Update, or if you're in the UK, the Windows 10 Autumn Creators Update, is available now for all users. Among the new features are OneDrive files on demand, so the files will show even if they're not locally stored. Windows Mixed Reality support. You can actually use that even if you don't have a headset, but it's mostly meant to support headsets. There's 3D Paint, and you can now create things, put it in Mixed Reality. The My People Contact Manager lets you pin contacts to your taskbar. A bunch of new features in the Edge browser, pen and touch functions, some security updates, a lot of other stuff, but it's there now. Windows 10 Fall Creators Update. Get it, enjoy it, love it.
Well, you might not love this story as much. Some drone news coming out of Canada regarding an incident that happened last week. It was last Thursday, actually. An unmanned aerial vehicle flying outside an airport's exclusion zone and also 450 meters high, which is above the legal limit, struck a Skyjet passenger airplane approaching Quebec City. The plane suffered just minor damage. It was a small plane, I think about 6 people on board. The landed safely, but it's believed to be the first confirmed collision of a drone with a passenger plane.
And no harm done, really. Kind of sounds like it scuffed the paint, maybe dented something, if that. But the key here is the person flying the drone was outside of the exclusion zone. They weren't violating airport space. They were just too high. And that's how they got in the flight path.
Reuters reports that five former and Microsoft employees say Microsoft's internal bug tracking database was breached by attackers in 2013. The database included descriptions of critical vulnerabilities, which were fixed within months of the breach.
Yeah, a lot of people are making a lot of this because of what could have happened, which is totally fair. Thankfully, it doesn't sound like anything did happen, although some folks are claiming Microsoft didn't do enough investigation to see what effects it might have had. They were fixed rather quickly, but it's unsettling.
Also, maybe we don't know what happened. Maybe some bad people did things, that weren't made public.
That weren't discovered. That's possible too. Yeah. Here's some more top stories. Microsoft announced the Surface Book 2, the successor to the original Surface Book. Comes in a 13.5-inch and 15-inch screen size model. Like the original, it has a full tablet in the screen that can be separated and used independently. The 13.5-inch version can have a 7th Gen i5 or 8th Gen i7 processor, up to 16 gigabytes of RAM, and up to a terabyte of storage. i7 versions have a discrete NVIDIA GTX 1050 GPU. All the 15-inch versions all have i7 processors and 16 gigabytes of RAM, and they get a GTX 1060 GPU. The ports are pretty much the same as on the original Surface Book, with the addition of a USB-C port. Unfortunately, the USB-C port does not support Thunderbolt 3. It's only USB-C. Pricing starts at $1,500 for the 13-inch model and starts at $2,500 for the 15-inch model. Pre-orders begin November 9th for shipping on November 16th. This is much thinner than the rather bulky original Surface Book. They've been getting thinner every time. They kind of did a thinner version of the original, and then now they've gotten it really thin. And I still love this idea of being able to pull off the tablet, even though I never do it.
Well, so why do you just want to feel like you've got choice? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, the times I've done it, it's been magical, right? Where like I'm working on something. One time we were ordering food. I've used this example before, and Eileen's like, "Okay, give it to me," and I was like, "Hold on," and boom, I just pulled off the tablet and handed it to her that way. So and showing people things, sometimes it's easier. My problem is I just don't use the tablet for enough things. I haven't gotten into the habit of that.
I wonder if it being thinner might help with that.
I kind of think so too, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looks less bulky. There's the weird hinge, which I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but I've looked for a picture of the new Surface Book completely closed, and I couldn't find one. In all the marketing material, I've gone to Microsoft sites, to a few sites, and I can't find one. And I wonder if it's not because, that hinge makes it still slightly open and people don't like it. I don't know. I mean, I personally am not a fan of that design, but the fact that it's thinner is certainly a good thing, and the fact that you can get discrete GPUs that are powerful for our gamer friends in the audience, those are pretty good. Obviously, they're not as good as desktop versions, but a lot better than old discrete GPUs that had a significant lower amount of power than the desktop versions.
True.
Well, we're sort of on the subject of what's under the hood. Google revealed that the new Pixel 2 and the Pixel 2 XL have the company's first in-house consumer system on a chip called the Pixel Visual Core, which Google says will improve and speed up image processing, and will open up its HDR feature to third-party apps as well. The Pixel Virtual Core won't be enabled until Android Oreo 8.1, though, so there's a bit of a wait here. But the company said other imaging and machine learning functions will take advantage of the new chip down the road.
Kind of interesting that this sort of, on the day that a lot of the NDAs lifted, suddenly, they admit, hey, we hit a secret chip in there. Can't use it yet, but it's going to be so cool. And apparently it will be cool. I can't wait to see it get enabled.
Is it the first time that Google designs a chip? I'm guessing they designed
the first in-house system on a chip, right, according to Google.
Consumer system on a chip, anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's significant as well. It's another brick in their road to making sure their hardware is designed internally, and they are taking this very, very seriously.
And if it's image processing and all the third-party apps that might be able to use this in the not-too-distant future, I mean, that makes the whole ecosystem better.
And with Google buying a large chunk of HTC, future Pixel phones might have more in-house designed elements to them as well.
That too.
Google, them again, announced a new advanced protection option for securing Google accounts. The opt-in service requires USB keys to log in to devices or Bluetooth LE key for mobile. Non-Google services are not allowed to access Gmail or Google Drive. Users also get more intensive and therefore slower malware scanning and stricter account recovery process that takes longer.
This is kind of a high-level thing. This is a Paul DiPodesta level thing. If you are someone who is definitely a target and needs to defend themselves, you will go to these great lengths. I wouldn't recommend that every single person out there needs to do this. But if you're also just want to be super careful and you don't mind the inconveniences, it's nice to know that they are offering this level of security. I mean, I use a USB key as well. I don't use one of the Bluetooth dongles, but I like that this is now an option. I would like to be able to mix and match this. I might want to allow a couple of outside services that I absolutely trust to access Google Drive, so I wouldn't want to go full in on this myself, but I'd like to take advantage of a lot of pieces of this.
I fear that if they do...
What would be an example of a service that you would like to for sure access?
Oh, I would definitely consider saying, don't let me log in unless I have my two dongles. I say that knowing exactly what you're going to make of that. My USB key and my Bluetooth key. That is way more secure, right? It's not necessarily it's not necessary for most people to do that. Probably an authenticator app is good enough, but I cringe when somebody only allows two-factor authentication from SMS. I don't love the authenticator app because of the fact that it's tied to a phone. So if I switch phones, now I have to go through a lot of trouble. Those keys are great. Being able to limit the services and say nobody can access any of these services unless I allow them to, I think is smart too. Patrick, you were going to say something?
I was going to let it go, but what I was going to say is if you allow some services, you know what will happen. You know, you're saying, oh, I'd like to not have to go all in and allow a few services that I really need. But if that is enabled, then people are just...
Well, what about this? Services. Let's say I want to, I don't know, I want to integrate Google Drive with Dropbox, and I trust Dropbox. Yes, I'm opening myself up to another path, but it's a path I'm fully aware of that I've also secured, right? So
Sure. But I mean, you would secure it. I think one of the goals of this service is to make sure that the people who use it are secure themselves. And if you give them the choice, then they're going to go, this web page I just found seems trustworthy. My grandfather on Facebook sent me the link. So, that happens.
PayPal announced Venmo is now available at more than 2 million U.S. retailers for shopping on mobile. Venmo purchases will carry the same refund and purchase protections as PayPal, and the Venmo option will only be available for desktop. Will only be available on mobile, not available on your desktop web use, which I find odd. But I guess they figure most of their people are on mobile and they want to limit it. I don't know.
Yeah, the Venmo model is,
mobile.
It's pretty mobile. And I can see, especially where PayPal's already been having a little trouble discerning between two services that are both owned by PayPal and do the same thing most of the time. That makes sense. But I'm enthusiastic on Venmo when someone's paying me. I'm not as enthusiastic when I have to pay someone else. But it's a service I really like. It makes sense that they would continue to integrate here.
I don't really know Venmo at all, but I really like that idea of someone paying me, Sarah. So maybe I'll look into it.
Right. Well, Venmo's the one where it's you can choose to be public about why money is being transferred or to just keep it private. But reading the sort of the main Venmo feed, at least it used to be, was very eye-opening because people would forget, and then they were like sharing the weird things they paid for the night before with Entire World, or even like a loose group of friends who are more like acquaintances. Anyway, it's fun stuff to do. Google, we're back to Google again, I know, but there's a lot of Google news today. The company has removed a calorie counter feature in Google Maps that had displayed the number of calories burned if you walked a particular route and how long you walked. Routes were also shown as the equivalent to a number of mini cupcakes, meaning if you didn't eat the cupcakes, then this would be something that you would burn off, basically. The company told Engadget that the update was being tested on iOS, but then removed after some very negative reactions. I saw a lot of those reactions. People were like, don't put dieting into my life. It was like, there were some angry folks. I wasn't sure it was totally warranted, but I could see the kind of cutesy nature of it just rubbing people the wrong way.
Well, I think the cardinal sin was they didn't ask you if you wanted it, right? If you put in driving directions, it showed you the walking directions with a calorie count no matter what. Right. And that's just annoying. And especially if you're someone who's sensitive about that, you feel like Google's being pushy. They're fat shaming me by doing this, right? And then you add cupcakes. If you're already in that mindset, add the cupcakes on top of it, and suddenly it's insulting.
Is it though? I mean,
I'm just saying I'm not saying it was to me.
No, I know, but I understand. I read a little bit of the feedback as well, and this veers off tech, so I won't stay on it for too long. But the feedback was pretty strong and pretty negative, and I it does feel to me. I come from a different culture, and in France, we're probably some of the healthiest people food wise there is. I'm wondering if on that front things are that kind of feedback is as warranted as the anger makes it seem. That being said, I understand not being able to remove it because that was one of the issues. You can't even disable it. That I know. I mean, I understand it would be a problem for some people.
Let me opt in and let me choose to remove it if I want.
I didn't get too bent out of shape over this personally, but I mean, I'm also going to go to the ice cream shop and be like, that's the ice cream I'm getting. I don't care how many calories you tell me is in there. But it does. It sort of creates like, oh, you're using maps maybe quite regularly to get around. And now it's like a fitness app that maybe will not make you feel like you're living up to social standards. And it's pushy in the wrong kind of way.
Yeah. Folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to Daily Tech Headlines at dailytechheadlines.com, available also on the Amazon Echo as a flash briefing, in the Anchor app, and on the Google Home through Anchor. And that's a look at our top stories. All right, Facebook has acquired an app called TBH after To Be Honest. It's an app generally used by teens in the United States, and it's pretty targeted towards teens. TBH is a polling app. So you sign up, you tell it what grade you're in. It's really focused on teens, I'm telling you. And then it will access your contacts list with your permission and start pushing polls to you that say, like, who has the best smile, or who would you kiss right now? And it gives you 4 options pulled from your contacts list. If you want to submit your own polls, you can, but they have to be approved before they get put in the hopper. So it's not something where you can just start posting shameful polls. People who are chosen as answers get gems. So you only find out if you've been chosen, and they get the option to contact the person that voted for them if you want. Now, on the back of this news, Patrick, it made you think, do we need a nice version of the web? Is that what this is?
I think we're kind of changing our relationship to, maybe not our relationship yet, but at least the way we view the internet. I think a few years ago, we were looking at interactions, social interactions, as they were, I think we can say, distorted by the internet. Comments and the anonymity was the main culprit people were saying was distorting the relationships. And we were sort of thinking, yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the internet. That's just the YouTube comment section. That's how it is. And it wasn't great, but it wasn't really something that was having so much weight that it impacted. It made us think maybe we should do things differently. And I don't think we're quite there yet, but we've seen a few attempts at proactively influencing the usage of those social dynamics. To Be Honest is one of those apps. I can think of a couple of others. There's Sahala, which is a Saudi app that provides anonymous feedback, but it's mostly for the workplace. And at least in the beginning, it's very successful. And in the beginning, it was showing surprisingly positive feedback. There's also IMSI, which is a failed network that was purposefully, very targetedly, I would say, trying to be the nice Reddit, because Reddit is a wonderful place, wonderful community, but it can be as harsh as it can be supportive and intelligent. So IMSI was having all cutesy imagery and trying to say, hey, you're in a nice place, we're having fun, and everything's cool. And sadly, the app failed. But I do think maybe we're seeing the beginnings of people and tech developers starting to think, hey, maybe we shouldn't just think that's the way the internet is. Maybe we should try to shape it a little bit, like the usage of it, like we do with any tool, which can be used for good or bad. And the completely hands-off approach is maybe not the best one. So I have opinions on this, of course, but I wonder what you guys think.
You know what? I've been seeing TBH kind of around my news feed, and definitely with friends of mine who have teenage kids. It definitely seems sort of teen to 20-ish. And quite honestly, I was confused for a while. I was like, this is some joke. There was some viral video I didn't understand, and everyone's referencing it or something, because I can't keep up with what the kids are always doing. But now that I realize, okay, it's an app, I'm familiar with it. The fact that Facebook sees how active its younger users are on this app, even if it's the flavor of the month, it's nothing for them to go ahead and pick that up and integrate it. And Facebook also has a bit of a PR crisis. And I think that something that can sort of point to a mostly positive experience and kind of a accolades-based polling kind of gamification, that's fine. That's all fine and good. I just feel like we've seen so many companies try to do stuff like this, and there's money involved, but it's kind of we're making best intentions stuff. I mean, Formspring had feelings about this at first, and then it got weird. Anonymity obviously makes things difficult. But even something like Instagram, it's like when Instagram launched, it was like, look, we'll make your photos pretty, and it's going to be so much better. And like, we're just going to clean it up and you're going to look really good and flattering. And it's like, And now that's kind of turned on its head, and everyone's like, it's fake. It's not real life.
It encourages an unrealistic expectation for your life.
Yeah, and so it's
Well,
not
I mean, on Instagram, one interesting thing was that you had pictures, so it was more difficult to have nasty stuff on it. It was just beautiful photos, but yeah.
Well, that's true. Although a lot of stuff on Instagram is just pictures of text now. But I even remember Amber MacArthur and we used to show Social Hour, and we looked at all sorts of different websites, and she was like, Upworthy seems kind of cool. Like, it's all kind of like uplifting stories. And we were like, okay, this seems kind of pleasant. And then that became like a real spammy experience, certainly for me online. So it's like, I don't want to say that we don't need a nicer web. I certainly think we do. I just don't know how yet another app that relies on a contact list and for you to kind of remain real active with that is going to change much.
See, the brilliance of the design here gets me, which is it's really hard for this to make someone feel bad. You're only going to be feeling bad if you, like me, have no friends on it, and you get no gems.
If you're ignored, you could start feeling kind of bad.
But that's sort of an absence thing that's common in a lot of experiences. It's not like people can go after you because they can't create polls without having them approved. And the polls that come out are like, first place on my BFF list. Now, the problem is this really is meant for teens. A teen is likely to have 30 or 40 people in their contacts list. I don't know. They're going to have a certain number of people that are mostly going to be their friends from school and their family. Whereas I have a contact list that stretches back to my handspring visor in 1999. So when it says first place on my BFF list, I get Michael. I don't know which Michael. John Dvorak, Annie Gauss, or Mark Maurer, who's a friend of mine from college. But I'm like, well,
my contact list, sometimes I'm like, guy from Twitter. And it's like, oh.
And then I
won't be adding him to my.
I get Burke. The next one is Burke. Kristen Brandt, somebody I follow on Twitter. I've had on shows before. She's great. But I mean, I don't know if she's most likely to win the lottery, but lose the ticket or not. I don't know who this Edward guy is that's on here. So it doesn't really work for me. But I wonder, my whole point in setting all that up is this is really well designed if I'm a sophomore in high school. I wonder if there's a way to do that for adults. To say, hey, let's have a way to communicate with each other in a way that we enjoy and we find adds something to our life and encourages positivity. I do like that idea of design that encourages a positive outcome.
And I hate to just be this like cynical person who thinks humans are horrible, but it's like LinkedIn kind of does that when you're recommending somebody for a certain skill, you're giving them props. But even that is like, it all feels so fabricated. And that's for sure kind of an adult network, but, or for grownups, not adult network.
That's a different network.
And I don't know, people use LinkedIn for all sorts of things.
That can be very positive, I guess.
Exactly. No judgment. But yeah, it's something like Facebook adding, likes and hearts. It's, these are all, they seem to be steps toward people wanting to have more tools to be positive because everybody realizes that the internet can be a real cesspool sometimes. But yeah, I mean, even to your point, Tom, somebody who like is never winning a poll on TBH, well, that's not going to make you feel very good. You might not do anything bad or be able to do anything that would be considered negative energy on that particular app, but it's not necessarily going to stop you from doing it elsewhere. So it's like, it's kind of dodging the real problem.
Well, I mean, so yes, it's not going to make you feel very good if you don't get any positive anything on that app, but it's very different from actively getting hammered over, Facebook comments.
Totally.
Because, you have a picture of you where you look a little bit weird and you're getting bullied and shamed. So I think the fact that I'm not saying this one app is the answer to everything. What I'm wondering is, should the risk or the distorted nature of social interactions over the internet, should that be taken into account at the core level of some designs? Maybe in the same way, we're talking a lot about inclusiveness in the tech world now. And when you don't have inclusiveness, beyond the fact that it's good or bad or makes business sense, you create a different kind of product when you integrate this at the core of your thinking. And in a completely different area, the internet does have some negativity attached to it in those areas. So until now, we haven't really been taking them into account. We haven't really been thinking about them. We're just assuming, that's the internet. But if we look at this when we design the product, I'm not saying we should have, risk-free polls and safe spaces in every app we design from here on, especially since it would probably make for a fairly fake environment. Although, even on that point, I would say we have a lot of negativity. Maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing to offset it by a little bit of positivity, even if it's not artificial, but selective. Right. Yeah. But would the products designed with this in mind, would they be different? I'm even thinking, I go on Reddit a lot, and in the past few months, maybe 6 months or so, there's a new subreddit that has been going up on /all the time, and that Reddit is wholesome memes, and it's just nice memes of people doing nice things and having nice things happen to them. And it's usually gifts and stuff like that. And it's not fake, or not more fake than any other meme. And it's not, artificial. It's just that I think the community was feeling the need to offset a little bit of the negativity and horror and horribleness that we see on Reddit all the time by a little bit of positivity. So I mean, my personal opinion is that maybe we don't need to transform the entire way of how we're doing things, but maybe taking that into account, because now we've learned what the internet and social interactions do to the way we interact with one another. So maybe keep that in mind when you're designing your app. And if you have a way to make a choice that will favor something rather than something else, which would be, nicer rather than more horrible, maybe it would be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit, which stays very nice, I have to say. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And also hang out in our Facebook group, which is also full of nice people, facebook.com/groups/dailytechnewsshow. Time to get to our messages of the day, Sarah.
Yeah, first one comes from Scott, who says, hi, Sarah and Patrick. So Scott knew that we were going to pick this email today. Said, I saw on Monday's show the discussion about the artificial pancreas, and that's of interest to me because I've had type 1 diabetes for 36 years. Now, a couple of years ago, there was an early part of the same study from the University of Virginia. It was a meetup for adults that he participated in. At the time, though, the pump was not yet put under the skin. It was less automated, but it was still monitoring important levels. Looking at this most recent report, they've gone a lot farther with the study. They've completed the loop. They've made it fully automatic. And a company called Tandem will use the same algorithm when they upgrade the software on their current pump. Beta Bionics, another company that's also been working on the iLet insulin pump, supposed to be released in 2020. At least that's Scott's information. He says, this means the world to people with type 1 diabetes. To remove the burden of carb counting, constantly acting as your own pancreas, a relief that cannot be described by any words in any language. He says, as always, I love what you guys do. Longtime patron here, and don't intend to stop anytime soon. Keep up the great work. Well, Scott, that was so heartfelt. My goodness. It's so nice to hear from somebody who really needs this technology, how much of an impact it actually makes on people all day, every day.
Yeah, thanks for writing in, Scott. Appreciate the insight there. And then DeGradier from Finally It's Fall in Atlanta said on Monday's show, it was good to hear that organizations that sell Wi-Fi enabled hardware were working to and or have already patched their products. I still use my original iPhone, and I have a ton of older Wi-Fi enabled devices that I still use. I'm not really worried about those, but it made me consider the threat risk of unsupported devices that are still in use that may have critical functions, and what type of vulnerabilities will remain if the IT cost of patching for crack has been determined to be too high. Part of my job is ensuring devices that were deployed meet a particular level of protection, and it takes years to patch things sometimes. Also, regarding using HTTPS to protect against crack, how can I verify that the internet connection various apps create are using HTTPS? It's a good point. You use HTTPS everywhere on your browser. doesn't mean it's going to help if you're using an app. So thank you to Gradier for that as well. And thank you, Patrick Beja, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Always happy to be on.
What do you got going on these days besides DTNS Labs?
Well, obviously DTNS Labs Games, which we recorded the first episode of with Scott. We did a panorama of the consoles available today for this holiday season and which ones are good for what. So you can go check that out. And if you want more gaming, you can go listen to Pixels, which I also recorded with Scott last week. We talked about the controversy with loot boxes, which is pretty heavily discussed in the gaming world right now, and my love for Shadow of War, the new game in the Lord of the Rings universe, which I gave my impressions on that episode. It's called Pixels, and it's available at FrenchSpin.com.
Thanks to everybody who supports us on Patreon. Nancy and Steve in Tucson wrote in and said, first, I love the new format, the additions, the extras like DTNS Labs. When I heard about Sarah joining, I jumped at the chance to help out where I could, but found it hard to figure out how to increase my donation. I didn't realize Patreon lets you change the amount before okaying the transaction. Duh. I previously had just clicked the add a dollar box, which didn't add $1. It just dropped my contribution to $1. Just wanted to let you know in case there are others like me that looked for an easy way to increase their support only to have it backfire but didn't notice. My wife and I love you all in front of, behind, and others like us beside the microphones. Well, thank you, Nancy and Steve. And you might want to check. Maybe you accidentally lowered your bill. I don't know. Patreon.com/DTNS to support the show.
Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. I've got an email address too, and I'm in there, so I want to see more. And we're going to answer them. In fact, that's another little labs idea we have, but we'll come to that another day. We are live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 2030 UTC at alphageekradio.com and, of course, diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com.
Don't forget, we'll be back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Talk to you then.
Show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Good show, you guys.
Excellent. You guys got really choppy towards the end. Am I choppy as well?
No, you never did.
Everyone sounded fine.
Yeah, everyone sounded all right to me too.
It's weird. I think it's the same as I got from Sarah last week, but I was in a completely different place. So I'm wondering if Hangouts is not...
That issue last week was my Windows machine. The Windows machine.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, you may have had something separate, but what happened at the end, because Roger couldn't hear me either.
Oh, okay.
That machine is now a machine that props up a different laptop.
It's gone to the farm upstate.
It's providing a good vertical inch plus for
excellent.
my current setup. So anyway,
well, what should we call that good show?
Buy two dongles.
Showbot.tv.
There's also From Internet with Love. Canadian Joan Gets High, Too High. Tom wants to pull the trigger on the Surface Book. His finger disagrees. Venmo, good as long as you're getting paid.
Welcome to the internet. I love you. That's nice.
Carrot or pole approach to a nicer internet. Welcome to the nicer net. I like the idea of someone paying me. Don't fat shame me, Google. We need a nice version of the web. The internet, sugar-coated. Surface Book loses weight. The Mounties will always get their drone. Google uses cupcakes for scale.
I'm trying to do the mixed reality, but I lost the dinosaur. Oh, he needs me to tap.
Is that Daffy Duck?
This is not working.
Welcome to the information super nice way.
But do you see the dinosaur that popped
Yes.
down in the middle there? So this is
Yeah.
the Windows mixed reality. He just pops down on that shelf. And he stays
Oh, the little T-Rex.
Yeah. It's way better in person.
All that technology, so you may have a dinosaur in your room. LinkedIn is an adult network. Accentuate the positivity.
So he looks great right now on the floor, but I can't show you that because it's mixed reality. Yeah.
From Internet with Love is at the top. My Two Dongles comes in second.
No, I can't. Yeah, he's still over there on the floor. That's...
Welcome to the Internet. I love you. I love it. Love it. Any votes? No, nothing.
I mean,
Ideas?
I like doing something about the nice net. There were a few versions of those that I thought would all work.
Come on, be honest. You just think this is all disgusting because you're so you think people are horrible, so you don't want to have love and the internet in the same sentence.
Absolutely not. I think some people are horrible, but most people are not horrible. We've just built a weird internet where lots of people behave badly.
The people who are horrible appear more frequent and louder. That's my theory.
Right.
And they get to repeat themselves multiple times over a vast.
Maybe we should be lovely more loudly. You guys are awesome. I think you're amazing.
So from Internet with
Why
Love,
does it sound fake?
There's also We Should
Why
Be
does it
Nicer
sound
Online,
fake, like-
TBH. To be honest,
I need the title now.
All right, let's go with From Internet with Love.
All right. Hooray.
Yay.
See, I feel fuzzier already.
Right? From fuzzy logic to fuzzy feelings.
Yeah, you know, that's all that's ever wrong, guys. Just compliment me more.
Or maybe they should go back to the if nothing nice to, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You have nothing nice to post, don't post anything at all. I don't know.
That's why my Twitter's so empty.
What time are we commencing bonus show?
Yeah, as soon as we're done here, as soon as I'm done posting this, we can just start.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I too am not going anywhere.
If you're wondering
agree.
what Sarah's talking about, the people at the co-executive producer and above level get a 30-minute bonus audio show every month. I wish I could show this to you. Maybe I can take a screenshot.
You really like dinosaurs. What
No,
if
I
you
just
could
like the way the augmented reality works? Like it really works better than I expected it. It looks cool.
I want one of Sigmund Freud next to my bed so I can tell him all my crazy ass dreams. I had a really prosaic dream the other night where I dreamt I had 8 cars and I was busy trying to find street parking for all of them, but I misplaced 3 of them. And I was running around across the city trying to look for them.
You know, I had a dream. It wasn't about cars, but I had a dream that like I was in Amsterdam with my friend's dog and the dog like got away from me and I'm like trying to find the dog and I don't know where I am. And there must be some like feelings of organizational challenge that those dreams mean. Because it's just like it's not even really a nightmare. You're just like annoyed in the dream. Like, where is it?
You feel exhausted. It's like, why did I dream about working when I just have to wake up and work?
Right. Yeah. Or you're like, you know, it really would have sucked if I like someone's dog like ran off on me in a foreign land.
What if the dog was just like totally chilling at like one of those coffee houses?
The funny thing was this dog doesn't exist. Like it's a fictional dog that my brain made up for a dream, but the dog's name was Brett. And it was like so many weird details where I'm like, what the heck? You know, have I talked to a Brett recently? Like, where did Brett come from?
Maybe it's a Brett from your past.
I mean, I went to school with a Brett, but
Who didn't go
Was
to
he a
school
dog?
with Brett?
he's full human, as far as I know. But
Was he a faithful classmate?
he was a nice one. He was a very nice guy. He's my Facebook friend. I know what his kids are doing on TBH.
Yeah, I was gonna say. That's funny.
You know, that's kind of the extent of it.
All right, so I took a picture of the T-Rex on my microphone, and I'm tweeting it now.
On your microphone?
Yeah, he was sitting
Oh,
on my mic.
right. On your right.
The House Rex.
The House Rex. You know, Tom the T-Rex.
I noticed that Ray got to go into the office.
Into here? You mean?
No, Eileen posted a picture of Ray like in the car, like she was going to work.
Oh no, she was dropping her off at the place where she plays with other doggies.
I got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Preschool. Puppy
Yes,
preschool.
Puppy
Got it.
preschool.
That's exactly
Well,
what
that's
that is.
fun too. I thought it was like
Yeah.
dog to work today or something.
No, Ray's still a little bit whiny for that. I think that's why. I don't know if they're allowed to bring dogs in that new location or not. They were at the old place, but
Yeah, sometimes brand new offices, they, you know.
yeah.
When I was working at Pluto TV earlier this year, really nice office, very like high up, really beautiful view of kind of Hollywood, West Hollywood, and everybody had a dog, and it was like, it seemed like it would be more, you know, chaotic, but it was actually really nice. I felt like the dogs just made everybody happy.
Yeah. Well, they allowed dogs at YouTube space in the office portion, not in the space after a while because there was an
Right.
incident apparently.
Well, boards and things.
Yeah. But we never, Sawyer couldn't go because he's too crazy, and Django wouldn't go because and you remember this from Twit, she will go around and eat everything out of trash cans if you're not stopping her.
Right. I had forgotten
Yeah.
that Django was fond of leftover lunch.
Oh my gosh. Tissue paper too.
Ugh.
Like just gross. So yeah. So I don't know what Ray's office culture is going to end up being like.
Well, you know.
Guys, I'm probably gonna leave.
Yes, of course. We
Now that
understand.
it's well past midnight.
Yes, now that it's actually Wednesday.
We've
As you totally turn into a squash variant.
Well, it is past midnight and I haven't yet. So unless I'm lying on that half time zone thing, I'm not turning into a variety of squash.
All right. Well, we're going to end the broadcast here. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And if you're a patron listening to the audio version, stay tuned for this special message from Patrick Beja.